What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 3 of season 2 of Our League Sucks. Mike, how you guys doing?
Here we go. I'm doing well. I don't know. I don't know why Mike was mouthing your intro.
We're doing fine, all things considered.
Yeah.
This week we got a light schedule again. We're gonna try to keep these a little lighter, a little shorter. Gonna do some injuries, some ramifications from those injuries, do some league news, matchup breakdown, and lastly finish with some power rankings. The first injury we're going to go over is kind of a non-injury because he did end up coming back in the game. Both times he left with an injury, and that's Galvin Cook. I think he left in the third quarter to the injury tent, came back, and left again in the fourth to the injury tent, and then came back in the game.
This is classic Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I mean, he does this almost every game. He's going to go to the injury tent. He's always fine. So
he's always fine, and then in like 2 weeks he'll miss like a half. And then 2 more weeks he'll miss a game. And it'll be great.
And then when you need him in the playoffs, he'll choke.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, like you said, it's a yearly thing for Dalvin, but you don't want to start seeing the wheels kind of falling off week 2. You wanted him to last, half the season before you started getting these missing parts of the game. Hopefully it turns into nothing. He's really good and does impact the rest of that Vikings offense a lot.
That's an astute point. Dalvin Cook is very good.
That's why you guys listen to us for these great takes.
Yeah, that's why we're the number 1 podcast for our league, which sucks.
Listened to by at least 60% of the people that we play with.
Yeah, don't listen to those other guys.
Do we think Nico listens to this?
No.
Why not?
I don't think he listens.
Too busy listening to Gordon Ramsay.
Ooh, should we just change our name to Hell's Kitchen?
He might listen to it then.
Oh, that would have been a good name for a fantasy football pod, though.
I think Nico likes to think about
nightmare.
Gordon Ramsay putting him down, and it gets him off in some weird way.
So we'll move
from Gridiron Nightmares.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. We'll go on to the 49ers running back room where every healthy running back on their roster got hurt during the gameplay. Sermon suffered a concussion. He's eligible to return pending passing the concussion test. Elijah Mitchell hurt his shoulder. He's most likely good to play. And then Jermichael Hasty suffered a high ankle sprain. He's out 4 to 6 weeks.
The snake bitten franchise.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you think because Elijah Mitchell is such a big pickup that it would affect the fantasy wires, but it doesn't because all of them are hurt. Anyone they pick up isn't going to be ready to be a lead back right away. So if you have Trey Sermon, if you have Elijah Mitchell, you're just going to sit tight and wait for this to pass. It's not really that big of a deal. That game just sucked in general, and we don't need to talk about it.
Which, I mean, even if Mostert was still here, it was still going to be a committee because it always is.
Yeah.
They always split the carries. Now you just have no fucking clue who's actually going.
I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo ended up running everywhere for the Niners, so that was fun to watch.
But they have Trey Lance.
That's factual. They do, but Jimmy Garoppolo is the one that won that game.
What happened in that game? Who did they play?
No one. Imagine being an asshole who sat in the sun for 3 hours, very drunk, watching that game. Couldn't be me.
Did you at least have sunscreen?
No.
You used mayo?
I tried, but I just ended up eating it all off.
That's Philadelphia sunscreen.
Like a cat, you had your leg in the air, you're licking the inside of your thigh of mayo. I hope everybody imagines that picture.
This podcast is going off the rails very quickly tonight.
Yeah, I'm on one.
Pat was boat digging all day, man.
No, just an hour.
I do think one of the interesting injuries from that is the Hasty injury because he was kind of picking up the third down back role. And that usually stays pretty consistent in Shanahan's offense.
And he was basically that last year. Whenever Mostert got hurt. Jermichael Hasty was number 2 back.
Yeah, and he was producing.
Yeah, a separate ramification from this is the running backs that the Niners did bring in to get checked out, and those that they didn't bring in.
Stay away from all of them. We can move on.
Well, the point is someone in this podcast does carry a former superstar running back that has yet to get a tryout on a team. And that'd be Todd Gurley, obviously.
I mean, it's not even like, and it's not even being mentioned. He's not even getting fantasy updates that say, "Oh, Todd Gurley may get looks from this team."
No, he is getting mentioned. The mention is, why is everybody getting signed before Todd Gurley?
So, it sucks. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but eventually I'm going to have to let him go, and I don't want to let him go. And
he's going to be a 1,500-yard rusher immediately after you let him go.
As soon as I let him go.
Todd Gurley is a good segue to the next injury, though, who the lead back of his former team, that's Daryl Henderson. He got an injury to his ribs. It's a pretty minor injury. It's more of a pain management issue. So he is game to game. If he thinks he can suit up, they'll test him game day. He will be a go. But I think that
it's just bruised ribs, right? There's no breaks or anything.
Yeah, he strained the rib cartilage or something like that.
Yeah, so
it still sucks.
Yeah, it's just a bitch of an injury because it lasts and you can't really breathe. It affects your breathing more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lingering injury that affects his breathing. But as long as he can, I'm sure they'll shoot him up a little bit too. Like he'll be playing, I think.
Yeah, just got to be nervous playing a running back whose ribs are beat up. And that's it for the running backs injuries this week. We got a couple wide receivers. Jarvis Landry went down with I believe, a knee injury. They put him on the short-term IR. They expect him back in about 3 weeks, but it's again one of those injuries similar to the Jerry Jeudy injury. It's not a guy that you want, or a spot you want hurt on a guy that kind of depends on his ability to get open quick and make these hard, quick cuts.
But unlike Jerry Jeudy, he's not really a top-tier wide receiver that you would be starting all the time anyway. He's been good this year so far.
Not anymore.
But for the most, not even just this year, for the most part, over his career since the Dolphins.
Well, there was a couple
he
years
hasn't
he
really
was catching
been,
as many balls as Antonio Brown was. I mean,
right, but in a half PPR league, if you're catching fucking 5 passes for 50 yards, you like 7.5 points.
As a Juju Smith-Schuster owner, I can agree with what you're saying.
But but at least Jarvis Landry, when he was on the Dolphins, he was catching 15
numbers
for 150. But now he's been the whole time he's been with the Browns.
Yeah, he got like 9 balls the first week for like 100 yards. And without OBJ, they don't have much else. But they have 2 very good running backs that are kind of holding that team up a lot.
You used to have one of those, didn't you, Mike?
I did.
We can segue to maybe somebody I see more as maybe a modern version of Jarvis Landry, and that's Deontay Johnson. He suffered a knee injury, most likely out this week. He's a high volume guy.
Yeah, but I mean, even though he's missing this week, he's also like Dalvin Cook. He goes down.
Yeah, almost
very often
3 times a game.
Yeah, he always goes down, has something wrong.
I think he went down in this game before.
What?
I think he went down in this game before.
He did go down in this game, and then he came back, caught a touchdown, then went down again. So he's another one that I think even if he misses this week, he'll be fine overall. He'll still play through it.
But unlike Landry, he scores.
No, yeah, he gets points.
Touchdowns. I mean,
the only really concerning thing about the injury is how vague the Steelers have been about it. But constantly referring to it as like he's doing okay. He's not great, but it's okay. Stuff like that. I know they're usually pretty close to the chest as a franchise in general, but it's still weird that they are giving updates and they're just kind of these mixed
messages.
Yes, of coach speak pretty much.
Yeah, but for the most part, they've always done that, and it's never really, unless it's an actual serious injury. This is how they go.
The last injuries we are going to discuss this week is something I termed as QB aside. I was
about Mike's broken heart.
I was doing something during the 1:00 games, and I came out of it and I had like 9 notifications from Sleeper of like 9 different quarterbacks that had left the game. And a couple of them turned out to be kind of serious. Starting out, Tyrod Taylor. It seems to be a pretty significant hamstring injury because they still haven't been able to check on it because it's still so swollen. Davis Mills is their backup.
Stanford.
And he stinks.
You're the Texans. You finished last season with Deshaun Watson as your quarterback. You're feeling pretty good. And by week 3 this year, Deshaun Watson's not even listed on your roster, and Davis Mills is your starting quarterback. That's got to suck.
It would literally, like, maybe a week ago, this wouldn't matter. Like, almost nobody would be starting Texans. I mean, even then, only one Texan started.
Well, Cooks,
Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
No, but nobody would have thought that even Brandon Cooks would be any type of relevant with Tyrod Taylor.
I mean, I think I sent it to you guys. The Texans receiving stats from Sunday were nuts. Brandon Cooks has 9 catches. No one else had more than 2. And I think that was 2 people at 2 catches, and then everyone else but they had like 8 different people catch passes.
I mean, like you said, like going into the season, this wouldn't have mattered at all. But Cooks put up back-to-back almost 18-point games with Tyrod, and that's a very, very good performance for, a wide receiver 2-3 type player.
And now it doesn't matter anymore.
No, and now you can't. I don't think you could trust starting Cooks any week. We'll go on to Mike's and my former quarterback, Carson Wentz, who managed to sprain both ankles during the game.
I mean, come on. The jokes write themselves.
I would me as an unbiased reporter, journalist.
I don't think we were.
It's so funny that he might not make that 75%.
I mean, it was something everyone was legitimately concerned about going into it. Now we might not, but
it's just so funny. You got the bad news that he could have been out for like 2 or 3 months at the beginning of training camp.
Yeah,
and it was miraculously healed by week 1.
Well, the funniest part for us is just watching Colts fans try and do the same justifications that the Eagles have been doing for the past like 3 years. Is so funny. Like, I'm just so happy I don't have to do that anymore. But I mean, it's wild. Like seeing Colts fans tweet. It's the same fucking things. No,
he's really good.
Receiver, no O-line, all this shit. It's like, at what point?
MVP season.
Man, no, that was something that we held on to. They can't say that shit. We don't win a Super Bowl without Carson Wentz, and that's a fact.
100%. I agree with that.
Thank
God he got hurt, so he wouldn't suck in the playoffs.
Man, he would have gotten hurt at the worst time.
I think this injury very much hurts Jonathan Taylor.
It's all of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel very comfortable with any of their wide receivers week to week anyway with Carson Wentz until you could see something from him. But
Pittman was a favorite as a
Pittman's not a big game.
But Jacob Eason came in the final 2 minutes and finished with like negative 0.5 fantasy points, throwing a
kneel?
A game losing interception pretty much.
Some would say game losing. Others might say game winning interception.
Next injury we're going to go over.
Did you get it?
I got it.
Next injury we're going to talk about is actually Tua Tagovailoa.
Try that again.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Yep, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, I don't think it's right.
Um,
But who am I?
his injury ends up pretty similar to Daryl
Oh,
Henderson. It
Small.
is a rib cartilage strain, and he is game to game. He did miss basically the last half or 3/4 of the game this weekend.
Who's their backup again? Who came in?
Jacoby Brissett.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins just hold him out. It really seems
Yeah.
they hate Tua.
It's not even that they hate him. Even if you, I mean, you hate him, you like him, you would keep him out anyway because he's your investment, as opposed to a running back who's a dime a dozen.
I watched a actual breakdown on Twitter today of it, and Tua had an average of like 1.9 seconds before a defender was on him during the game. And I don't think they could throw a quarterback with a rib injury out there when he's getting hit in the back within 2 seconds of every snap.
I'm going to say something controversial. I think most O-lines have sucked so far this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the Eagles actually have, I know I'm going to sound biased. The Eagles actually O-line has been playing really well, but they're one of the few.
Have they played the Redskins yet?
No, that's
Who they played? They played the Niners.
yeah.
Hmm.
I don't. Jordan Mailata didn't give up a single quarterback pressure or hit. And he was going up against Bosa.
That's interesting because I was going to ask, who they've played so far, and
week one was the Falcons. Who gives a shit about the Falcons?
yeah, they suck. That's why I was curious.
But the Niners, they have a good defense.
And then the final quarterback injury, the one I think that actually is the most fantasy implications, Andy Dalton. This will get most likely Justin Fields in for this next week. And even though Matt Nagy has pledged his allegiance to Dalton, if Justin Fields can show any explosiveness that could get that Bears offense going, either the fire is going to be so hot on Nagy's ass that he has to switch him, or they will force him to switch him to be starting, because Dalton is very much what Andy Dalton is.
Yeah, and Andy Dalton had some years where he was a very good quarterback, but he sucks now. He's old and he sucks.
He's Carson Palmer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
He's Carson Palmer.
I don't hate that comparison at all.
He was really good. He was a really good player that nobody gave a shit about.
Yeah,
So
but Palmer also
considered
went to the Cardinals and had a couple decent years. He wasn't like Andy Dalton left the Bengals and has been
Andy,
terrible.
but Andy,
Yeah,
you could say that, but then look at his stats and they're probably fine.
I don't think so. He was pretty bad for the Cowboys last year.
It was pretty bad last year altogether.
I think this gives Fields an opportunity, at least for 1 week, to show what he could potentially turn that Bears offense into.
I hope so. I think he's going to be exciting to watch once he finally gets on the field.
This is the only injury that we've talked about so far where the backup might make people more relevant, but you have no clue. You're only basing it off of they drafted him in the first round. So obviously he's somewhat talented. He could just fucking suck and it actually be worse for.
Yeah, but I don't think he will.
Yeah, I don't think he will either, but there's a much greater chance than people really are talking about.
He has not been great in the appearances he's made so far, but he has made big plays. And, as a young quarterback, if he's out there at least making these big plays and not being a detriment, you got to at least.
And because of what Nagy's been doing, and he's so committed to, he hasn't really gotten his team one reps either. Give him a full week with team one. We'll see what he does on Sunday.
Yeah, it would probably take a couple weeks with.
I don't disagree with that, but still, I think it'll be better than what he did in the second half on this past Sunday.
That's going to do it for kind of NFL news. We are going to move towards our league news, and we'll start with the trade that I had with Pops. Pops received a second-round pick. I got Latavius Murray. It's just getting a touchdown vulture for myself. That was kind of the goal. Second round picks haven't been very fruitful for me. So
Yeah, I mean, that's my only criticism of it. I think second round pick's pretty fucking high for Latavius Murray.
mm,
It was your second round pick?
yeah. Hoping it'll be like 18 to 20 pick, and chances are anyone I'd want has gone by there.
I mean, you could always get Nyheim Hines in the second round, so you never know.
He put up, I think, 2 points this week, but we'll get to that.
You can get him right now for a second round pick. Yeah, who cares?
Solid trade for Pops to pick up a second rounder as he's trying to kind of fire sale and get what he can.
Mike, that was so funny. Anyway, we're back.
The next trade we're going to talk about is actually a trade between you two. That is Big Mike shipped away Alvin Kamara to Pat for Pat's Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, a 2022 and a 2023 first round pick.
Yes.
This is Pat sending away a lot for a good chance at winning a title. This is Mike finally accepting that he has to do things to become competitive again.
It's me acknowledging that the old team is gone. It's neither happens when you score a top 6, 7 lowest score ever. Maybe that's a sign that you need to do something drastic. And it was tough to see the last remaining functional part of that championship team go. I'll always have that first draft where I actually prepared and did well for myself. But you know what? It's a fresh start today. Got rid of them, gave myself the old team name back. I'd been getting lazy, so we're gonna change things up going forward. And it's tough to see him go. But Pat, I hope he does all the best for you.
Mike, do you have like a prop or something that you're gonna show us?
No,
Okay.
Just a bottle of wine.
So,
cheers to the end of the season for me.
It was nice knowing you. So now, I would like to address
That shitty red wine.
Yes, that was a massive overpay. It was, but I knew I had to. I had to get a.
It's the only way you were going to get him from me.
Right. I needed a running back one, a real running back one. I couldn't just keep hoping one of these guys gets to it. I need somebody who 99% of the time gets to it. This all started when Pops put Zeke on the block. I sent him an offer, which was also an overpay for Zeke. I'd offered a second, Miles Sanders, and Darnell Mooney. No, not Darnell. KJ Osborne, who I just picked up, but it was very good. He sent a counter for Darnell Mooney and the rest of the package. Then I sent Nico a trade offer for Nick Chubb, also an overpay, but not really. I tried to give him Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs in a first. Obviously, I knew that was a mistake because it's Nico. I don't think he's ever seen anything in the league
He wasn't going to check that for 3 weeks.
Right. Now, I had an offer from Pops on the table for Zeke, but I was like, you know what? Let's just see, because I'm already going to overpay. Let's just see if I can overpay for an actually good running back. And it worked. It works best for both of us. Works for your future, and I'm trying to fucking win now.
You know, when you live 2 years together, the first year is roommates, and then second year just living in that house, you kind of get this weird hive brain going. And when I saw my score yesterday, I didn't realize how bad I did on Sunday. I got home and fell asleep at 6 o'clock. When I saw how bad I did yesterday, I had a thought that was like, you know what? It's time to make something big happen. And what's the one piece you have where you can really get the return? And it was Kamara. So I was like a half hour away from texting Pat today asking if he wanted Kamara. So I got the trade offer. It was originally for Mooney. I didn't want Mooney. He changed it to Javonte Williams. I really need a running back that can hit. I'll work on receivers in the draft, and I'm happy with how it went.
I've had the depth. I've had no frontline, not great frontline guys, but I had enough. I still have a lot. If anybody would like to trade, I'll be sending out offers.
But it's still rough to see him go. So now all I have left is Todd Gurley, who in our first ever playoffs put up a combined score of 97 points, 47 in the semis, 50 in the championship. Never forget it. But sad to see him go, boys. Sad to see him go.
Who, Todd Gurley? You still have him?
No, I said see M go, as in them.
Oh, CM
Mhm.
apostrophe EM.
Yeah,
CM.
see him go.
So
Okay.
as the only member of this podcast not in this trade, I do think it was an overpay. I do think it was the only way you were going to get him. And I don't think Mike could have gotten a better haul. I was actually talking to other league mates the last couple of days about how Big Mike is going to have to do exactly something like this. I thought Mike was going to hold out until like week 6 or 7, see who really needs it, who really wants it, and who is going to fork up as much as possible. But I think Pat kind of came in with the kind of trade I was thinking Mike was going to get as we got closer to playoffs. And
Cody, when you watch that back, me and Mike both inhaled from the views and we blew out the sides of our mouths. We blew out the sides
Just
of our
really
mouths.
hammering home that point of a hive brain.
It literally just shot at each other.
I mean, it just,
It was genuinely shocking. It was perfect timing.
that was amazing.
I
I'm
think
not
it's
going to
a-
do it again.
it's a good trade for both parties. You know, rarely in fantasy do you see that. And I think it's a good shot for Pat to win a title this year. And it's a great chance for Mike to start a fresh rebuild on the right foot.
I am full of great wide receivers. Anybody?
I'm
Okay.
excited for the trade, man. I was excited when it happened.
I had goosebumps.
So that's going to wrap up our league news this week. We are going to head towards the matchup breakdown. We are going to start with my game versus Bravin. Brav really brought all the big guns out this week, put up 187 against
Beat the
me.
brakes off of you.
I scored 133.
Dude, okay, so Cody, your points for, it was like 240 so far this year. And
Yeah.
Your points against is like 400.
Yeah. The points
Dude.
against are 394.
You were just getting your dick kicked in.
So I have 394 against. The next highest is 260. So if you're playing me next week, expect to put up an all-time performance at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry just did Derrick Henry things. 35 carries.
It was going into the 4:00 games. It legitimately looked like I was going to have a chance to win. Derrick Henry threw like halftime at like 10 carries for 23 yards. And then he finished with 182 and 3 touchdowns. So,
I mean, and he caught 6 balls for 55 yards. Like,
mhm.
you know, and then you have someone like Chris Carson who only gets 31 yards, but he scores twice.
Yep.
One was a bogus PI call, but that's an argument for a different day. Yeah, I mean, my team did whatever. Julio got so robbed on a touchdown, though. That was one of the worst
That was
review
brutal.
calls I have seen in a while.
That was pretty tough, Cody. Like, how do they review it and still not call it a touchdown?
That was like the clearest touchdown I've seen in a while on a toe tap, and they just like, nah. I was shocked when I found out. I just assumed it was a touchdown and flipped the channel. So Brav improved to 2-0. I fall to 0-2. The next matchup, it's going to be Mike DeCoste finally putting the nail in the coffin of Big Mike's team. Mike DeCoste put up 111 and got the win against Mike because he put up a paltry 66.56, which makes it the
sixth,
fifth.
Wait, let me see the list. Did you include the 63 from Jack?
Yes.
So fifth worst score ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go focusing? But I went through Yahoo and Sleeper. Brad holds the all-time score is the only sub 60-point getter in our league in week 10. And what's even crazier is he started a full team. It wasn't like he was like benching players or anything trying to suck. It did send me down a spiral looking through past leagues. And one of the funny things was actually Pat had one of the lower scores of a 75 in our second season. But later that season, he put up a 210 in his only win of the season. It's pretty fun to go back and look through.
It is. It was an interesting because when we were prepping for today, and I had to go and make sure that I wasn't the lowest score ever, even though I really thought I was pretty close, which I was. It's tough when you see your team do that. I mean, Kamara only had 5 points, and he'll be fine the rest of the year. But
I hope so.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a real concern. The whole Eagles offense. I mean, especially now, I go with the Eagles offense, and Nick Sirianni, he's going to go through growing pains as a head coach, and maybe he was a little too confident in himself after the win last week against the Falcons. But that was one of the most frustrating games I've ever watched in terms of play calling. Just a lot of stupid shit he did. Calling the Phillies special, like, what are we doing here? And then you have a 91-yard play on one drive, and you don't put up any points that drive. It was a tough game, so that hurts Devontae, that hurts Dallas. And then the rest of my team is just trash. I don't know what else to say about that. Congrats to Mike on winning with 111 points. Not much I can do about my 66, but hey, like we just talked about, it's time to move on.
Yeah, the Mike DeCoste side of it, we saw a kind of falling back to earth from Montgomery, and we saw the inconsistency of picking the right players for him. It wouldn't have mattered too much this week because his whole team kind of just put up mediocre across the board. But now Landry's out. Allen Robinson, who knows what he's going to be? Mike, more than anyone, is flying by the legs of Justin Fields coming in and potentially shaking up that Bears offense now.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of got saved with Devontae Adams just getting peppered that fucking whole second half because it was not looking good to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally just the Aaron Jones show, which we will get to.
Yeah, if we want to actually segue into that.
How about we don't? We should maybe.
No, let's segue into it. Let's talk about it.
So Eric ended up beating Pat with a 145 for Eric to 129 for Pat. Pat, do you remember how much you were up going into, was it Sunday Night Football?
It was
Monday night?
Like 48, something like that.
Well, I thought it was more than that.
No, it really wasn't. At 129, I think he had like.
Eric outscored my entire team on Monday night alone.
Yeah, I know. I was there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Eric got
it's going to happen. Like that, he needed an insane amount of points, and he got that insane amount of points. That's not like a fucking weekly occurrence. You don't just get that like that. Hey, it happens. Yeah, cut the short end of the stick this week.
I think in terms of negatives, I think you saw AB go off in week one, and then you saw him do nothing this week. And I think that's going to be a lot of the Bucs offense. except for maybe someone like Chris Godwin, and the running backs will get the volume.
I mean, I don't think the Packers are going to put up like those crazy kinds of stats. His Packers.
Oh no,
not playing-
they'll be,
they're not-
but I still think they'll be pretty consistently around 20 points a game.
I mean, dude, that secondary had nobody left. There's number 2 corner went down at half.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I saw that.
it worked out for Eric. Congrats, dude. See you in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was another interesting thing I found. And this is our 6th year of this league? Or 5th?
That I had Aaron Jones, yeah.
No,
Wild, right?
just in general. This is our 5th.
It's our fifth year.
Eric has finished in the top 3, 4 of them, or 3 of the others. The end of season. So you're going to probably catch Eric later on in the year.
You want to know what it is? It's because Eric wins like 125 point games. That he's always like, he doesn't like score 60 points. He doesn't score like that. He is consistently like 120 to 130 every week.
Mm-hmm.
And water finds its level. He gets into the playoffs and it stays the exact same number. And it just takes him as far as it does. It's one of the most well-balanced teams with like almost no upside.
One upside player he's had this year that's been shocking to me is upside so far is Tyler Lockett.
Well, I mean yeah.
I did not buy into him at all coming to the year.
Because it's Tyler Lockett. He starts off the season having these insane games.
Yeah, he'll die off.
And then, whenever the bye week is after that, he kind of just loses all steam.
Our next matchup was Jack, who put up 155, beating Nico, who put up 99.
Nico's team just sucks.
True.
And Nico's team is rough, and Jack kind of got what we thought his team was type thing this week, where his starting lineup should put up good numbers, and they happen to put up good numbers this week.
It was just the Mike Evans week.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean,
And then
Scary
next
Terry
week-
had a big Thursday night,
And then
which
next-
Jack's got to be happy to see with fucking the backup QB in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gronk has 4 touchdowns in 2 games. So, whether that's going to keep happening or not, we'll see.
It's Jack definitely got to be happy seeing his team really bounce back, not just like win, but come out and put up a pretty dominant week.
It's just it doesn't happen. Like he's the opposite of Eric. Eric is consistent. Jack gets these huge weeks, and then Mike Evans scores 1 point.
Also,
Pulls a Galvin Cook and he goes down with an injury, comes back, goes down with an injury.
Also, if you look at Nico's team, he has 4 quarterbacks, and he started the most obviously wrong one to start.
Yes.
It wouldn't have made a difference in the matchup, but out of Lawrence, Carr, Mayfield, Burrow, how is Lawrence the right play there?
Hey, Cody, put the idiot sandwich gif in here, please. Thank you.
I mean, come on, Nico.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it with you, Big Mike, but I think Nico is approaching the point where he needs to consider selling off some of his big guys and getting some.
Yeah, that'd be really
capital.
good if Nico was involved. He would have. I wanted Nick Chubb.
I mean, I'm looking at Nico's bench, and it's almost worse than mine, if not worse.
Let's
That's
not
why he
go too
drafted
far.
ahead of you in the draft, Mike.
Yeah, his bench isn't great, but he does at least have some solid players. Chase Edmonds, Kenyon Drake,
CD,
Kelvin
DK.
Gordon. The next team or next
But
matchup.
those aren't on his bench, Pat.
What?
I was
Oh,
talking,
I
I was
didn't know
talking
he was-
specifically about Nico's bench.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna move on from Nico's team. We can talk about it more during power rankings.
Holy shit! They scored a fucking run.
Let's not.
It is Lupo taking the victory over Pops. Pops put up 99.8. Lupo put up 133.8. Lupo sitting at 2-0.
Look at these guys just wasting points on these bullshit matchups. I don't want to score 210 points against somebody who put up 90. It's a waste. I don't need that. I don't like that because you're going to need that 210 against somebody good, and it's not going to be there. Or the 133. Doesn't matter.
I mean, Lupo put up 133, and he didn't get much at all from his running backs or his wide receiver one.
That's like the classic, mush sports fan. Like, dude, we don't need all of these hits. You're just wasting our hits.
I wonder if he's gonna. I mean, Lupo just has a really good team. Like his starters, just top to bottom, are really, really good.
Honestly, this was a bad week after last week's performance. The only thing that saved him was Cooper Kupp. The only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Kupp scores his normal amount. That's literally like 15, 20 points left.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Brady put up another 30 spot almost.
It's okay. He'll probably start Justin Fields next week like a dumbass.
I don't know. He's not Nico.
Pops has some trouble ahead, though.
Yeah,
Brandon Cooks,
more games.
Brandon Cooks probably can't be very relied upon anymore. I mean, he's still got to start in probably his Pops team, which is more of a testament to Pops team than it is to Brandon Cooks. Tony Pollard might be really good at football, and Dak is Dak. Pops pretty much flies by the air of Jerry Jones' breath. It's actually just Jerry Jones and the Ravens. That's how Pops' weeks are decided.
Yep. Yeah, I was actually shocked to see how many Cowboys and Ravens he has.
It's quite a strategy for Dynasty, but whatever works.
Dude, if Elliott gets hurt this year, though, Pops is going to get like 30 points a game from Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard looked very crisp and very fast out there.
Yeah, very good.
Odell's still out for him too.
Yeah, but I mean, the only what's Odell going to do when he comes back? Like, do you have that much confidence in him when he comes back?
16 points, probably.
I mean, compared to other people, Pops want to at least take a shot on Odell returning to form. He's one of the only truly exciting players you can put out there that could win him a week. But I think Pops is kind of at a pack it up, go again next year. He's trying to fire sale his team. Lupo's looking really good. Pops falling to 0-2, Lupo to 2-0. That's it for matchups. We are going to go into power rankings. Starting with the last team, number 10 in all the rankings, Big Mike, 3 points. And I don't think much else needs to be said about this team.
Nope.
Top 5 worst score of all time this week, and just traded
exactly
away.
where I deserve to be.
Just traded away his big piece. Maybe you can go out and get a receiver to help the team, but it's not looking great. The 9th team in the ranking is Pops. Pops does have some potential to, make it to the fringe of playoffs, I think, but everything has to break right.
He has some things and some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Pops got 7 points this week, and then Nico comes in at 8th with 8 points, slightly above Pops. Nico does have a good starting lineup for the most part. It's just very streaky with DK, and if his running backs go off in a week, Nico can beat anyone pretty much.
I put Pops ahead of Nico.
Is it because you don't like Nico as a person?
I don't like that he doesn't participate.
Yeah, he does. He was in the draft.
I think Gordon Ramsay participated more than he did in the draft.
Bollocks.
That kind of ends it for teams, I think, that are outside of our playoff hopes. The next 7 teams are all, I think, true contender playoff hopeful teams. Coming in at 7, a fall down the rankings, we got Mike DeCoste with 14 points with an average of 7. So he's right where we kind of voted him to be. I don't know how I feel about this team.
It's more of how we feel about other teams than it is really about how we feel about Mike's team.
Of all the
Mike's team is
teams
not
that
bad.
no, but of all the teams that I think have a chance to win, I just feel less confident about Mike's.
Yeah. It's a lot of PPR monsters in a half PPR league.
It's a fine line to walk too. Like that really is.
Yeah.
And I mean, he is always going to, if he can get what he was getting towards at the end of last year, where he was getting, 50, 60 points from Galvin and Montgomery every week, he's going to be fine with this kind of sketchy wide receiver room.
Yep.
Coming in a tie for 5th at the 5B spot, we got Jack with 16. Jack could beat anyone any single week, and I don't think that's really a question at all. It's just if every week his team could put up enough points to win consistently.
He's a fucking injury away from just absolutely being in like Big Mike's shoes. He has one injury to like McCaffrey. Because James Robinson, he has nothing after McCaffrey. It's James Robinson who's not been good.
Yeah, I mean, he's their best offensive player, and Urban Meyer just won't scheme for him.
Yeah.
Just won't do it.
The 5A to Jack's 5B is Eric, also 16 points. You pretty much, I think, explained it perfectly. Eric is just extremely consistent. He's going to put up that 120 to 130 every week.
Yep.
And you never know when, Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones are going to connect for 60 points in one matchup, which could happen.
And that leads to his high score of 145. That like outlier game from from Aaron Jones at least equal out to, just only 15 more than his kind of baseline.
Still do like Jonathan Taylor though. And I think as the season goes on, I think Taylor could start picking it up too. And he got nothing from Kittle. But he did lose Henderson, and I think he's going to struggle at the flex position. I don't think he has a true other flex player now that Mostert and Henderson may be out. 4th in the power rankings is my team. I got 20 points. I'm putting up like the 3rd most points for, I think, in the league, but I am just so far the 4th most points for, so far the most points against. It's actually crazy at this point. Because I don't remember if it was recorded or not, but I have almost 400 against and nobody else has 300 against. I'm not worried. I like my odds.
I don't think you should be worried. I wanted to do the same shit our second year, where I was just going up against the most points for every week, and I still made the playoffs. And then I think I lost to you in the semifinals.
It's I don't know, man. You like have no running backs. It's tough.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
Thank God they don't have to play defense, because that points for would be even higher. Losing Elijah Mitchell, not great. Do you hope Damian Harris doesn't fumble and doesn't get sat? Do you play James White in hopes that
On the bright
Damien
side,
Harris fumbles
James
instead?
White is looking like a nice player again for me.
Yeah, I
Nice
can't wait until
stash.
you start him.
That's like
It's
one of
just not
the
good. It's just not a good.
most hurtful players you can start in fantasy. You just do not feel good when you put James White in
No,
running
I had to
back
do it.
spot.
I had to do it all last year in a redraft league, and it was fucking miserable every week. I just hated seeing him in the lineup, but I was like, maybe he'll catch 10 balls.
Yeah.
It's just that you basically your entire running back core is people's backups.
One injury away.
Let me
The
just double
next
check.
the
only starting running back you have is Damian Harris.
Leonard Fournette's a starter.
Yeah,
He's like a shared starter.
A lot of number twos. You know,
you really only have number 2 running backs. Like personally, I think like Jack's team is better than yours, and I think Eric's. No offense.
Mhm.
You just somehow put up points, so this is why you're up here.
I got 3 wide receivers that go bonkers out of my 4. AJ Brown might stink, which is
Absolute.
argument for a different day. But we'll get to the number 3 team in the power rankings with potential to shoot up the power rankings, and that's your team, Pat.
Let's hope.
You got 24. You got all 3 third place votes this week, but picking up Kamara, this could really, give you the juice.
Yeah, that's the idea. Let's hope it works out. I mean,
Wish
obviously,
nothing but the best.
it's deserved to be in the 3rd slot. I haven't put up. I mean, I have the 3rd most points for, but I haven't put up either of those 2 guys' numbers. Which we'll see how it all evens out at the end of the season. If this is just crazy fucking, crazy shit just happening now, or
Let's just say you're in win now mode.
yeah, I am. I'm gonna be so mad when Jack somehow beats me. It's gonna be the fucking worst.
Well, at least Kamara got his shit game out of the way.
That's true. He always just has. He has.
And that's
one.
the thing. The Saints always lose his shit game, so then they just fucking crush him the rest of the season.
Dude, I checked that when I was looking at that trade. I checked it, and I was
No,
like, okay,
that-
just let me see if he's got one shit game every season. And I saw the 5-point game he had like in like week 12 last year.
Mhm.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
got out of the way early.
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
Nah, he's gonna be
Big
fine.
opportunity. The next team in the power rankings, you mentioned, put up huge score. That's Brav, put up the 189 or whatever on me. Brav's team is, one of those kind of scary teams where maybe Vrabel will forget, like he did in week 1, that Derrick Henry gets better the more you give him the football. Because that's exactly what happened this week. He had the same game script going halfway through the game, and then Vrabel's like, wait a second. This guy literally just gets better the more we give him the ball. Just give it to him 25 more times this half. And he just ran over everybody. And he can do that any week as long as the Titans realize that instead of trying to make Tannehill be a Patty Mahomes.
It's just he's super top heavy. It's Mahomes and Henry. That's almost it. Hawkinson's looking like a real fucking
Hawkinson's a good fucking player, man.
And I mean, I think he had all of his points in the first half, but Hawkinson's looked real fucking good.
Did Hawkinson's touchdown come in the first half?
Yeah, because they didn't score it all the rest of the game.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was the fun. They scored with like a minute left in the first half, though, right?
That was a field goal. It was 14s.
Trying to think. Yeah. But no, you're right.
It was 14, then they
And then they got
marched
the
down,
field goal.
kicked the field goal,
Yeah.
and then
It was a nice grab by Hawkinson, though.
oh yeah.
Did you guys happen to watch that Cardinals game really at all?
The Cardinals?
Yeah.
A little bit. Like I said, I was so drunk and tired after the Eagles game that like we came back here. I went to the bar for like a minute, ate dinner, and then went home and fell asleep.
Because Brav has Rondell Moore, and he looks electric.
They all, it's all Kyler, dude. Kyler's just so fucking good.
Rondale Moore is averaging 14.3 yards after the catch this season.
Oh yeah,
He's so good. He's so good.
It's so crazy.
I tried to get him off of Brav, but Brav wasn't budging on him. He didn't want to give him up.
And Henry
Obviously.
Ruggs had a good week. I mean, Brav had every single player do well.
I mean,
Jamar Chase is looking pretty good too.
Yeah, he's the
that
deep,
one. That
he's
one
a
came
deep
in.
threat, but he's that good that he can be a deep threat and just score. He's like
He
a
didn't
bigger
do
Will
it at
Fuller
all.
almost.
That he literally didn't do it like the whole game, and then him and Joe Burrow finally, like, they were getting fucking smacked the whole game,
Mhm.
and then they finally connected on one, like, with 4 minutes left.
I think that's what makes Brav's team a little scarier is I think Chase will get better as the season goes along. And same with like the Debo and then Henry Ruggs and Rondale Moore. But Brav's in second place for this week at least. In first place, we got Lupo garnering 30 points in all the first place votes. I think it had to be Lupo this week. Put up huge week one, came back and put up a very solid week two. He has the most points for by about 20 points. And, you know, his team isn't, you know, insane, but Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford look to have a really good connection. Keenan Allen has a very good quarterback throwing him a football.
Yep. Calvin really is just a flat out good receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper will probably still put up numbers regardless. It was a weird offensive week for the Cowboys. I think that speaks to the Chargers defense too.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joe Mixon and DeAndre Swift will, you know, people like Joe Mixon looked great week one. We'll see if he does it, if it's as consistent as people expect it to be. And I think DeAndre is more of like a 13 to 15 point week every week type of guy. So he's just consistent through the board, and Lubo's going to be tough to beat this year.
I don't know.
I mean,
Joe Mixon, I'm still not totally in on Joe Mixon. He had that huge week, and then he had 7 points.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we'll see if he's as consistent as people expect him to be.
He's still got the opportunities, though.
I know.
Like, it's not like he came back and got the 7 points, but only got like 10 carries this week because the game scripted him out. Even though he
20
was
carries,
struggling.
average like 3 yards per carry. I think. Yeah.
I think you could probably expect 30 points weekly from his two running backs. And then his receivers are his good bet.
I would say you could probably expect, like, with the receivers and flex he has now, I'd say you could probably expect like 90 points out of those four. I don't know if you can expect 30 every week out of his running backs.
And even that, I think one of his wide receivers will have a big week each week. Cooper Kupp has too many weapons in that offense to consistently be the go-to guy like that. He's always good, but it's always he'll catch a touchdown, 3 catches, and you know it goes to Van Jefferson or Robert Woods or Tyler Higgs. Like it gets spread around there. Amari Cooper is the same way, and also Amari Cooper is fucking. You look at his stats every year. Half his games fucking are garbage, and then the other half are fucking astronomical.
Yeah.
It's just he's super boom and bust. And I think he's gotten a lot of boom so far in, you know, when he needs it. And Cooper Kupp, like if he scores 15 points less, like he loses to half the teams in the league. Not the shitty half that can't get over 100, but
This might. So Lupo finished first place in the power rankings. But
everybody's got holes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's a surefire champion at this point of the season.
A lot of parity.
But you did mention something kind of funny. I think this may be one of the weirdest week scorings we've had. With 3 teams hit sub 100, which is pretty hard to do with our roster positionings. And I don't know if I saw that when I was going through the standings to check if
There was a couple weeks in year one. There was like 1 week in year one where like 2 people were in the 80s and like 3 other people were in the 90s.
Yeah, it's an interesting year we had so far. I can't wait to kind of see how we go over the next couple of weeks and who really starts shaking out. And these power rankings become a little easier for us to kind of figure out who goes where.
I just need my team to keep on losing.
In other kind of league news, well, I'll go over the power rankings, and I did do something for the league. I'll talk about 1 second. So 10th place, we got Big Mike's team. 9th, we got Pops. 8th, we got Nico. 7th, Mike DeCoste. Tie for 5th between Jack and Eric. 4th, you got my team. 3rd, you got Pat. 2nd, Brav. And lastly, in 1st place, you got Lupo. The thing I did is in the last week, Sleeper actually did an update where we can input the old league results in. So the old league results have been imported into the league.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
So you have 2017 and 2018 in there now. I don't believe they tie to the people but I'm going to try to see if I can do that.
Cool.
Still waiting for Apple to give me the okay to put it on Apple Podcasts, by the way, which is really annoying. You have to like sign up for it, and then in like 14 business days, they get back to you if you get the okay, and they give the okay to everyone anyway. So it's a really, really cool system. But
Are they just making sure we're not spreading misinformation?
probably.
Yo, Mike, don't say it, dude. Don't say the name of that drug.
But
Yo, don't say it.
Anything else you want to add to this episode before we read call reps?
No.
No, I don't think so. It was the days of Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Alvin Kamara, and Kareem Hunt are all behind me.
That they are. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
Mr. Blue Sky. Blue Sky Blue.